And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello there my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to take a trip back in time to the Renaissance era, where we're looking at scholars and bakers and merchants and knights, and we're doing a hand management game of Renaissance Man by Rio Grande Games. Now, it's for 1 to 4 players, plays in about 30 minutes, ages 13 and up, and it's an interesting card game, so let's take a look and see what I think. In Renaissance Man, what you're trying to do is build up and hire all your workers so that you don't just have 5, that you build on top of those like a pyramid until you have a big pyramid of workers and a total of 15 workers. So let's talk about how a round works. Now here we have level 1, or action 1 as if you call it, and everyone starts here and everybody plays this simultaneously. So what that means is everyone tries to figure out what they're going to do on their turn, and then they're all going to do it simultaneously. So the way we do it is when you're ready, you pick up the pawn, and once everybody has the pawn, you simultaneously do your action. Now, on your turn, you simply can do one of two things. You can either, on this specific level, you can take an action of one of these characters, or you can play a stored action if you have them. We'll talk about those later. So on our turn, essentially we'll pick one of these characters to do an action, and let's just pick the baker. Now, what happens is the baker, as you know, allows us to barter. And when we barter, we get to take the cards from our hand, since everybody is dealt 4 cards in their hand. So essentially we have these 4 cards that are in our hand at the time. Let's just say we have these 4 cards. We barter, we get to pick any one of these 4 cards that are in our hands and discard one of them. And when we discard with one of them, depending on the big icon logo that's on the top middle of that card, that essentially is the token that we get to place into our stored area for a move that we can use later. So in this case, this is the scholar and he's good at teaching. Let's take a book. And so we take the book icon token and we place it down here. You can only store 4 of these. This means I can use this anytime. So this would have gotten discarded in the discard pile and I would have 3 cards left in my hand. Now everybody else is doing their thing at the same time as well. Now, if any one person has a card that they have built, we'll talk about building cards later, but so let's just say this one was here. It can't really go here, but just for the sake of it, if someone had built something up here, level 2, even if one person is built on level 2, everybody gets a chance to now do a second action, or action number 2. Now, obviously, if I have no cards in level 2, I can't do any actions with my cards, but you can always use one of these stored actions. So I could use this on my turn in level 2, and you keep doing that until nobody has any cards on that specific level. Now let's say we went through the turns again, it was level 1, everyone's ready, and I pick this action, the knight. And what he does is he recruits. Let's take a look at the recruit board. Now when I recruit, once again, I have the cards that are in my hand, and I get to pick which one of these I would like to discard. Now, whichever one I discard, let's say I discard this guy right here. He's the merchant, he has the money symbol as his big symbol. We discard him. I get to put one of my recruit knights on the card that is below that icon of the money. And so now this guy, I am trying to recruit. Now, if at the end of the round, nobody has also recruited this guy, I get to take him and put him in my hand. So that's how a recruitment action works at the end of the round. If nobody has recruited him, I take him in the rest of my hand. This gets refilled. And at the end of every single round, once nobody can play anymore, you can discard as many cards as you want out of your hand and then replenish your hand up to 4 cards. So at the beginning of every round, you're always going to have 4 cards. The next card is the Renaissance Man card. We won't really talk about that till later. He doesn't have an action that he can use himself. So again, let's say we were on level 1. It's time to everybody do their action, and I put it on the scholar. Now the scholar teaches. He has this book here. And again, once again, I get to pick one of the 4 cards that would be in my hand at the time. Let's just look at these. And I get to pick one of these. Let's say I pick the baker. I discard this card, and notice it has the big bread icon on the top in the middle. I would discard this card, And then I would take another one of those tokens of the bread. In this case, I would put it up at the top. Notice at the top here it has a teach and a book. It kind of allows you to remember that when you're doing the book and the teaching, this is where you're placing them. Versus when the first move, when we did the bartering with the bread, it just reminds you that you put it down here. So what this allows me to do is take this token and place it up here. Now once I have taught all 4 areas of study with the merchant and the bread and the book and the knight recruit window there, I actually get one of these Renaissance men that look just like this, and I get to add him to our pool. We'll talk about adding people here in just a moment. So again, we would go up every level to see if anybody could do action 2. If so, we would all do it together and see if we go action 3. I don't have any people there yet, so I really couldn't do anything unless I use one of these stored actions. So let's go over the last guy here, which is the merchant. And let's say on my turn, when at the action 1, we pick the merchant. And what he does, he gets to hire somebody. So let's talk about how you actually build upon people. So let's say I have these 4 cards in my hand at the time. I had selected the hire from the merchant. And what I do is I get to actually hire and build somebody on top of this pyramid. The way it works is, you see for each person here is a bread icon and here is a knight icon, a shield. And over here it's a shield. The Renaissance man is wild. You can have anything here. Here's a book and a coin. Now what we do is, this is what these people are offering to teach the people above them. These are the ones, this is the knowledge that people need to get. So for example, if I wanted to put this guy here, I would need him to have a bread icon on the lower left and a shield icon on the lower right. So I don't have that here, but I do have it here. So I could, when I play my action to hire, I can hire someone as long as the icons line up of who I am putting them on. So this guy has a bread on the left and shield on the right, and bread on the left, shield on the right. Because I've matched those, this guy can go here. Now I'm starting my level 2. Now as you can see also, later on, let's say I had another action, let's say it was the next turn and I still used this man, and I wanted to hire again. Here's a shield. The Renaissance man is wild, so you can have anything. So all I need is somebody that has a shield on the left side like this guy, and anything on the right side, and I can place him here. And this is where it gets tricky, is that now that I have people on level 1 and level 2, so I can play, on level 1 I can play any person that's not covered. So on level 1 I can no longer play the actions of these covered people. I can only play the actions of these 2 or any stored action. When we go to level 2, which is the second action, now I can either play one of these 2 or a stored action. So what happens is, as the game gets going, you'll end up starting to, again, these aren't legal moves, I'm just showing you for the course of the video, is what happens is as you start building, you'll start covering up some of the people. So what you're really trying to do is figure out who to cover up when, and when should I cover up the right person. And again, once we get all 4 of these scholars up here, we get to add a Renaissance man right away. And since he's wild, you can really put him anywhere. And so he allows you to put them, since he's wild on all 4 things, he can go anywhere, and he's a wild that allows people to go anywhere else. And so this will continue all the way through until someone has built the entire pyramid of 15 people, and that's the person that wins the game. All right, well, there's Renaissance Man. I've got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised by this game. It's very Euro-y. You're pretty much focusing on your own board, not really worrying too much about what other people are doing. Maybe in that recruitment side, sometimes you get it intermingled and you're both trying to recruit the same guy, but it doesn't happen that often. So it's pretty much a very Euro game. It's very puzzly. The whole hand management side of things, I really liked it because there's never a single path to victory. There's always different things that you got to do and different combinations of having certain people still available to take their actions. And I loved how every time I played it, it was very different. And every time you play it, you learn something new about a combination or something that you can do. And then the next time, that never comes up. You learn something else. And I think this is one of those games that definitely for me, for the handful of times I played it, every time I played it, it got better and better and better. And this is one of those games where you could really invest a lot of time and really dig in and get deep. And even though it seems like such a simple game, there's a lot of meat there, and it's very puzzly. It can be a bit brain burnerish, where you're trying to figure out, okay, you're trying to link up, knowing how many guys you got left of actions that you can take. You're looking at your hand, you're trying to like think 2 and 3 moves ahead of how to get to where you need to go. So I really liked it. Very puzzly, very brain burnery. Now, even though you play things simultaneously, if you're with a player that has analysis paralysis, they will sit there and you will wait for them, because everyone has to kind of play at the same time, and you'll be sitting there waiting for them. Now, it's not that bad because you're sitting there and you can always have something you can think about it. You know, some actions, some levels, you may only have one card left and you know what you're going to do, when other people might have just unlocked a new row and they're sitting there and they have like tons of choices that they could make. So that's the one downside I'd say, is once in a while you could be sitting there waiting, but I found that there were still so many other things to think about in future turns that it wasn't that bad, and having them played simultaneously also is probably the reason why they did that, so that it eliminates or reduces that downtime. So overall, I really liked the game. I even tried, there's a solo variant which I tried, which is very good. It's kind of like a little solitaire game, and it kind of feels like you're all playing group solitaire on steroids, but it was very fun and very enjoyable. So I definitely recommend this if you want to try sort of a Euro game that you can play by yourself, that you can invest some time, build a lot of skill up, play with some friends. I would definitely recommend this. I was pleasantly surprised, and it's definitely, I would recommend it to anybody that likes Euro, likes card game, likes hand management. Give this one a try. Renaissance Man from Rio Grande Games. Great job.
Much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.